Welcome back to another episode of the Be Better podcast. My name is Harrison Orr, and in this podcast, I want to help you find ways to be better. That's my mission in this, is finding ways to help you be better in your health, in your mindset, in your business, in your relationships, in everything that you do, just being that 1% better every single day. As a health and performance coach over the last 5 years, also the guy behind Primal Energies, my mushroom extract business, I've had some experiences both personally and coaching other guys in being their best, and I want to share those lessons with you so you can get the lesson without the scar and just be better faster. In this episode, I wanted to talk about a few of the tools that I've personally used in my relationship to help our relationship be better, right? And what I mean by better as better communication, better sex life, less stressful, and just everything feels so much more aligned, and we just function as a couple, as parents, as individuals, as lovers, as everything so much better because of some of these little tools that I have just found so game-changing. And so, as a bit of context, it's not like we ever had a bad relationship, right? We were never the type to scream and fight and get physical or, overly verbalize like screaming matches. It was more of the, when you aren't happy with the other person, you just don't say anything, which is not really any better. And I know a lot of people out there, they're like, oh, well, we don't fight, but do you communicate how you really feel or what you really think? Just because you don't fight doesn't mean that you have a great relationship. Just because you can bite your tongue and not say anything, it is not my idea of a great relationship. I know plenty of people that have that kind of dynamic, and it's not very helpful. Like, you build up this resentment, there's this disconnect, and there's a huge gap between you, basically. And so the first tool that has been massive in helping us in communicating, right? We implemented this last year when my wife was pregnant. And so, when you've got the missus who's pregnant, there's a lot of fluctuations in hormones, in energy, in roles, right? There's some days where I'd have to do things that, normally she would do just to help out because she's growing a baby inside of her. And so what we did was we introduced this check-in system, and it was basically at the start or the end of each day, depending on where we're at. Usually at the start was a good place to start, and we'd go, cool, babe, where are you at? How did you sleep? Where are you at today? Out of 10, right? And that would determine that would be an indicator of how much capacity the other person would have for that day. If maybe she had a poor night's sleep, or she was overly stressed, especially asking later in the day, then that would dictate basically who would have to pull a bit more of the load that day. All right, so we'd rate each other, we'd ask each other, where are you at today, babe? Out of 10. If she's a 8 or a 9, sweet. Do your normal thing, you look after you, I'll do me, and we're all good. If she's like anything less than a 6, I know I need to carry a little bit more of the weight to help her out. And so, especially now that our son has been born, when that adds a whole new dimension of responsibilities and things to look after, and another, I guess, not source of stress, I'd say, but, when they're carrying on, when they're crying, when they're really testing you, if you've had a poor night's sleep, if you don't have the biggest bandwidth that day, if, now that her period has come back, that time of the month adds another factor into it, it can get a lot, right? So this check-in system has enabled us to share the load. Okay, I know she is at breaking point. I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him for a walk, get him out of the house, give her some quiet time, and do what I can to help alleviate the load of her a little bit. And talking to a lot of other people that have implemented this, it's been massive in helping people to share the load of what needs to be done in the family, in the household, but also remove that level of kind of almost competition that some people have. It's like, if, especially as the guy, maybe you get home and you've either had a big day at work, or you've just worked out, or you didn't have the best night's sleep, and you're like, oh God, I'm exhausted, I'm so tired. And then your wife chimes in, well, I'm growing a baby and I did this and I did this and tries to invalidate your feelings of being tired, when it kind of defeats the purpose, right? It's not a competition. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean that I can't feel tired, and vice versa. It's like, well, okay, where are we at? We're a team here. We're not trying to compete. It's just because you're tired doesn't mean that I can't feel tired, and just because you're stressed doesn't mean that I can't feel stressed. And trying to outdo each other and who's more tired and who's more exhausted and who's got it worse off, because that doesn't really help anybody. So working as a team, cool. How can we combine our capacity, our energy, our resources to get done what needs to be done, to help each other, to raise our child, to do all those things? So that's tool number one, which has been massive. Tool number two, this is for the guys out there. And so especially for guys that have a woman who's either runs a business and is in a management position at work, or it spends a lot of her day in the masculine, right? Basically taking a lot of responsibility, making a lot of decisions, doing a lot of those like masculine traits, right? And so when a woman spends a lot of time in that state, they often want to come home and want to be able to switch off from that. They want to be able to come home. This is a generalization, of course, but a lot of women that spend a lot of time in that masculine then want to come home and want to be able to step into their feminine, which means being taken care of, which means the man or the masculine, the man in the relationship, making the decisions, taking control, guiding that household with little decisions. So something that worked massively for us is because, my wife runs her own business, and we were at this point where she was working in the business. I'm trying to grow two businesses, coaching, doing a lot of these things, also taking a lot of responsibility, control, making a lot of decisions. And we both get to the end of the day and we're so exhausted that, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? What do you want to do on the weekend? I don't fucking know. You make a decision. No, you make a decision. I don't care. What do you want? What do you need? And we'd go back and forth, and it would get frustrating. And then eventually sometimes my previous identity, my previous, I guess, nice guy syndrome would kick in and try to guess what she might want to do, what she might want for dinner, right? And it doesn't really work. It's not a useful strategy. But what has been extremely helpful for our relationship is me taking that bit of control, not control, but decisiveness, right? Taking that decision off the table of, this is what we're having for dinner. This is what we're doing for the weekend. We're going on date night. I want you to be ready at 7 o'clock. We're going to this place and I want you to wear this dress. And obviously she has free will to say, no, I don't feel like that for dinner, or I'd rather wear this, or whatever. But should she want to be led and relinquish that level of control, there is that option where all she has to do is follow the lead. And stepping into that masculine has been a huge shift in our relationship, because it enables me as the man to feel a lot more empowered and like the leader. And it allows her to not have to make those decisions, not have to worry about those stressful things, knowing that, cool, I've got that sorted. And I know as we grow and as my business grows and as I can relinquish more of that stress and that responsibility from her in terms of having to make money, having to run a business. Sure, she'll still probably do a lot of that stuff because she likes it, but she doesn't have to, right? Huge difference there. And so the more that I can relinquish of her and take that, the more that she'll be able to lean into that feminine and have that nurturing, that caring, that not motherly, but feminine energy to match that masculine, especially when we're at home, right? And so for a lot of people that have an imbalance in their sex life, it's because people are spending too much time in the opposite roles, right? The female, out of necessity, has to take too much of the masculine role because the man gets home, doesn't want to make decisions, just want to slouch on the couch, doesn't want to help out, doesn't want to do anything. And so someone's got to step into it. So when he assumes the feminine, she has to assume the masculine. And then so there's an imbalance in who's leading in that relationship. And so if you want to take control, if you want to take your relationship to the next level, I highly recommend checking this dynamic out. And so for me, the first step in this was, because I was very new to this, was what are the traits of masculine, right? We're not talking about man and woman. We're talking about masculine and feminine energy. Everyone has both of these within them, but they each are responsible for different traits. And then so when you look at some of those traits, which ones resonate with you the most? And so for me, the ones that I resonated with me, that stood out to me the most, which I knew I could improve on, were the decision making. They were being decisive. They were being certain about what they wanted, how they were going to get it, and then taking action to achieve that, which also brings a level of power and a level of confidence as well, which then provides the safety and the security for the feminine to show her energy and fall into that space. So that's been massive for me. Highly recommend checking that out if you're not in the roles that you'd like to be in your relationship. And so the next level of the next tool that's been massive for our relationship is the communication, right? And this is not a easy tool that like I've given you before, but being able to communicate what you're feeling or what you're thinking, regardless of what the other person might think, like not taking responsibility for the other person's emotional reaction. Obviously, we have a duty of care. We don't want to be a complete asshole in the way that we deliver it, but being able to say what we truly think and what we truly feel so that we can work through it. I know a lot of people that try to please the other person and get very defensive when they get critical feedback from the other person, and ultimately that doesn't serve anyone, right? So especially guys might say, why can't you be honest with me? I just want you to be honest with me. Why can't you tell me, right? Whether it's what you're not finding so attractive, what I've done wrong, whatever it is. But if that's the case, chances are in the past, she has been honest with you, and then you've lost your shit, it's ended in a fight, or something negative has come from that. And so subconsciously, she said to herself, cool, don't be that honest again, because that didn't fucking end well. I don't want to fight. I don't want him to blow up. I don't want him to storm out. So let's not do that again. So we dial back how honest we can be, what we truly say, and like how we convey that. And so it's not your role as the man, speaking to the man right now, men, it's not your role to just say, be honest with me, right? You can't force another person to say anything, say what they really think, say what they really feel. What you can do is provide a space where they feel that they can be open and honest without fear of serious repercussion, right? You need to be able to create a space where they can say something which is probably not what you want to hear, which might hurt you a little bit, but know that the overarching theme is that they love you, they care about you, and they want the best for you. Because ultimately, if your fucking wife or the person that you are in a long-term relationship with can't be honest with you, can't tell you a hard truth, who can? Like, of all the people in the world, that's one person I want to be able to be brutally honest with me. Because for me personally, if I knew that there was something that wasn't being said, that she was just like, oh yeah, no, you're doing great, baby. I don't know why it's not working out. Yeah. And like just, completely ignoring this spot that I was ignorant to. And then I went on to make a fool of myself, pushed on this thing that cost time, money, energy, all those things, when I could have had that feedback months or years ago. I'd be quite upset. I would feel betrayed. I'd feel lied to. So part of that from me, again, is creating that space where she can be honest with me, she can be open with me, and then so again, it's how we respond when they say that, when they give that feedback. And that's going to take time. If you've been in a space before where you have reacted emotionally, things have got out of hand because you didn't handle it too well or whatever it might be, then cool, it's going to take some time. You're going to have to practice how you respond to that. And we're not perfect at this time. The other day, it was quite testing. We were in the car in the back of a Uber or taxi over in Bali, and our son was crying and screaming, and this poor guy had to drive us for over an hour with him screaming in the backseat. It was not ideal. And then my wife went to say something when we got home, and I knew that I was not in a state to be able to handle criticism or to have a constructive conversation. So I simply said, I'm not open for feedback right now. And just left it at that. I am not open to feedback right now. I'm going to say something that I will regret. I need to cool down. I need to just chill out. Let's have this conversation another time when we can actually have a constructive conversation and not turn into a blame game or anything aggressive. And so if you feel like you're in a state where you are not able to have, you are highly emotional, you're stressed out, you're tired, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're whatever it is, but you're not in that state to be able to have a constructive conversation with someone, it's a lot more mature and a lot more constructive to delay that and to straight out say, sorry, I'm not in a state to have that conversation right now. Can we revisit this later or tomorrow or whenever is convenient? Not with the intent to delay this or kick the can down the road, so to speak, but to schedule this conversation at a time where you can have a constructive conversation and say, cool, what do you think I could have done better at? What were you not happy with? Okay, yes, that was my bad. I acknowledge I shouldn't have responded that way, or however the conversation goes. But you can do it from a more neutral place, which has a much higher likelihood of getting the outcome that we want, which should be a change in behavior next time we're in a similar situation, as opposed to, you did this, don't do that, yada, 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 yeah, fuck you, fuck this, and blah, 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 blah. And then it ends up in this, it becomes personal, and then nobody really wins. Chance of action being changed or habits being changed next time around, probably pretty low. So, not ideal, right? So, that level of communication has been massive for changing our relationship, which is also, again, come back to each of us being able to control our stresses a bit better. Again, that check-in point. When you know where your partner is at, it gives you a better idea of what kind of conversations you can have. If there's something that's pissing you off, that's been annoying you, or that's like that you want to bring up, that bit of feedback, hey, what you're doing here is really annoying, or, it's unlike you to be messy and leave shit around, or whatever it might be that you want to bring up. If your partner's at a 3 or a 4, probably don't bring it up. Probably not going to end very well, right? And so naturally there's going to be times in the day, times in the week, some of these check-ins where it's better suited to those deeper conversations, those more emotional conversations, or those conversations where it has a higher likelihood of taking a lot of maturity and emotional intelligence to navigate it in the best way possible. And so with those check-ins, it allows you to have those conversations with the best possible chance of getting the outcome that you want, rather than it becoming a personal attack. Like for us, it's usually not on a weekday after we've both shared the load of having our son. If we've had a good morning, haven't had a rough night, and we're set, okay, cool, we can have capacity in it there. If we've had a poor night's sleep, he's screaming, we're in a rush trying to get out the door, and things are go, probably not a great time. Talking to a client the other day about this, and he knows 3 p.m. is the cutoff for this type of conversation with his partner. Beyond 3 p.m., the day's got the best of her, willpower is depleted, she's tired, she's stressed, just wants to zone out, have a wine, have dinner, watch TV, just chill out, relax, nothing too heavy. So if he's going to have any of these conversations that are deeper or require that maturity, he knows he needs to have them earlier in the day. Cool. So you give yourself the best possible chance for success for this constructive change. And so I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to cut it off here. That's been 3 of my tips that have been massive for improving our relationship, our sex life, and everything that we're trying to do as parents and as individuals. If you've got something that's been massive for you, whether it's a tool, a book, or anything that's been really helpful in changing, actually, before we leave, a book that was really helpful for me. I know some people have found it quite hard to read, but I really love the book Mating in Captivity by Esther. I can't remember her last name, a French woman, I believe it was. Mating in Captivity was a great book, especially coming into parenthood, especially around some of the labels that we use and trying to keep that spark and keep that sex life alive. A lot of the times when people assume those roles of dad, of mum, that sex life diminishes for various reasons. And in that book, she goes into a lot of those reasons, how to navigate those, and some of the changes that you can make so that even as parents and even grandparents for some people, you can still have that spark and that electric sex life without compromising being parents and all that good stuff. So I hope this is helpful. If you've got a resource or something that's really helpful for you, I'd love for you to comment on this or shoot me a message on Instagram. My handles are in the caption below because I'd love to connect with you. And as always, don't be sorry, be better. And I'll see you guys in the next podcast.